Okay, the last class we stopped at politics, and politics here referring to organizational politics, not governmental politics. So organizational politics are basically how people may abuse power to get what they want, either get what they want or influence or attempt to influence the distribution of advantages and disadvantages within the organization. And as I mentioned in the last class, we do not make a distinction between legitimate and illegitimate political behavior, and these are just labels. This one is more important. These are the factors that influence political behaviors. So in every company that I've worked in, or every company that I've visited, there's always some political behavior. And I don't think there exists any organization that is free from political behaviors. Even often some religious organizations also have political behaviors of the people inside of them. So whenever you have humans, you will have political behavior. So what causes this? First of all, political behaviors exist everywhere. Now, the objective is not to eliminate political behavior, because that's impossible, I believe. You can only manage or reduce it. We can reduce political behavior so that it does not disrupt the workplace. So one way to reduce political behavior is to understand that what are the causes of political behavior. Once you know the causes, then you know where to reduce or how to reduce these behaviors. So maybe I can give you some examples of what are political behaviors. For example, like you are reporting to the boss about somebody else's personal matter so that the boss looks more favorably on you than that other person. That's an example of political behavior. So you probably have come across this in your working lives, and you're wondering perhaps where does it come from? Well, it comes from two main sources. The first one is individuals. Individuals are the cause of political behaviors. And the second category is organizational factors. So let's have a look first at the individual factors. Now, when you have lots of individuals within that organization or within that department who are high self-monitors, then there's more likely to have a political behavior. Do you remember what are high self-monitors? People who can adjust themselves to the environment. They're very aware of the environment and they can adjust their behavior according to the environment. Now, it's considered good for that person to be successful, to have that kind of trait in that organization. But from the organization point of view, the disadvantage of high self-monitors is because of these people's flexibility of behavior, they might behave in a way to get more advantage for themselves at the expense of other people. So high self-monitors, the more high self-monitors you have in the organization, then the more likelihood of political behaviors. Now the second one is internal locus of control. The second bullet point is internal locus of control. And what is internal locus of control compared to external? What is internal? A person who believes that
his success from his
success is due to himself. Success or failure due to himself. He is the master of his own fate. He controls his own destiny. So these kinds of people, they are more likely to do something. They see something they don't like, they do something to change it. And sometimes the change can be beneficial for them, but disadvantaging other people. So that's again the disadvantage of having internal locus of control people in the organization. As I mentioned earlier, internal locus of control is actually a good thing for the individual and generally for the organization as well, because the internal locus of control people have more initiative. They take charge of the situation, they take control, they take steps to overcome something. But again, the disadvantage, the downside is that these people are more likely to do political behaviors compared to the external locus of control. External locus of control see something they don't like, they probably say, oh, I'm powerless to change it. But the internal locus of control, they see something they don't like, they will do something to change it. And the behavior might not be ethical, and it's a political behavior. High MAC, short for Machiavellianism. Again, a very ambitious person. You have high MACs. These people, in fact, more so than some monitors and internal locus control, the high MACs are the ones who are most likely to practice and most probably already practicing the political behaviors. So the first three are personality dimensions. And the next three are, the situation that they have placed themselves into. Organizational investment. How much has the person invested in terms of time and money in the organization? Time. How long has the person been working in that company? If the person is just new in the company, if they see something they don't like, they can just resign. But a person who's been working 10 years in the company, they've got a lot to lose if they resign. So that's what I mean by organizational investment of time. Sometimes of money, if you join a firm and you are a partner, you contribute some money or fund into the fund, then also you're more likely to stay in the company. It's quite costly for you to leave. So organizational investment in terms of time and money. So the more time and money you invested in the organization, the more likely you are to do political behaviors. Because you got more to lose if you leave. And you probably can relate it back, as I'm explaining this, you can always relate back to your own personal experience of your colleagues at work. You probably can recognize one for each, at least. Now, next one is perceived job alternatives. If a person perceives that it is difficult to find another job elsewhere, then they are more likely to practice political behaviors. Okay. And lastly, expectation of success. If a person believes that by doing a certain political action, they will get what they want, then they're more likely to do that political action. Expectations of success. So that's on individual factors, and it's useful to know where or what are the causes of these political behaviors. Now, the next category, organizational factors, quite a lot of bullet points here, but I would reduce it to just 2 bullet points. I think organizational factors, whenever you have ambiguity and scarce resources. 2 things, scarce resources. Scarce means very little resources. And ambiguity. Ambiguity means not clear. Unclear in terms of many things, unclear in terms of the job description, unclear in terms of the allocation of resources. These 2 things will promote political behaviors. These 2 things that exist, if they exist in organizations, they promote political behaviors. They encourage political behaviors. And if you have, let me see, if you have too much political behaviors, it will result in decreased job satisfaction, increased anxiety, increased turnover, and reduced performance. Okay, these are the examples of political behaviors. They're called defensive behaviors, but it's a form of political behavior. So you can write here political behaviors. And there are three categories. There are three categories of political behaviors. Now, first of all, I want to say that in a lot of the other classes, when we talk about leadership theory, I say, make use of this theory to improve your leadership style or behavior. So a lot of it is like, what can you do? How can you apply them? But for political behaviors, I would say that for most of them, you shouldn't be practicing them, especially here. You shouldn't be practicing the political behaviors except for one or two here, or three. But why do we learn about them? The purpose is so that you can detect or you can recognize other people doing the political behavior. Because if you don't know about these political behaviors, then you cannot see, you don't notice. But if you learn about this, then you start to see the examples around you of people doing this. So the first category is avoiding action. Now, usually, from what I observe, this is usually done by lower level people, lower level workers. But not to say that high level workers don't do them, but it's more common for the lower level workers. First is over-conforming. Over-conforming means this person relies on the rules when it suits him or her. The person relies on the rules when it suits him or her. So for example, the boss says, I want you to do this. Then he replies, under the new HR policy or the new company policy, we're not allowed to do that. So relying on the rules when it's convenient for them and to avoid doing the task. So I call it avoiding action, to avoid doing the task. Buck passing is saying like, it's not my job. So if boss asks you to do something, you say, it's not my job. It's somebody else's job. So that's buck passing. Again, avoiding action. Because why? They don't have to do, it's not my job, it's that person's job. Third one, playing dumb. I don't think you should do this, especially. Playing dumb, the boss asks you to do something, they say, I don't know. This is usually done by maids, I think. You ask him to cook something, so I don't know. Anything, don't know. So they don't have to do much. Next one is stretching. Stretching is example, the work can be done in one day, but they take 1 week to do it. The work that can be done in one day, they take 1 week to do it. Or the work that can be done 1 hour, they take the whole day to do something like that, stretching. I had one example of a clerk in a legal firm. He did a very good example of stretching. For example, he'll be given 5 files to register, with documents to register at the registrar of companies. That's his job, to register documents at the registrar of companies. So, say for example, on the Monday morning, he's given 5 files. So he can take 5 files and go to the registrar of companies and have it all registered in one day. But if he does that, then he will have no more work for the rest of the week. So what he does is that instead of taking 5 files, he just takes 1 file, the top file, and he goes to the registrar of companies, register the document, and then come back to the office in the afternoon. The next day, he'll take the second file, and then he'll go register, and he'll do that 1 day, 1 file. Until 5 days, 5 files. And he did that, for about 2 years, until he was discovered, and finally they gave him a lot of work as punishment for doing this trick on the organization. So it's not a good thing to overuse that technique, stretching. Okay, and the last one is stalling. Stalling is pretending to do the work when asked, but stopping as soon as the boss is away, and the boss leaves. So pretending to do the work as soon as they're asked, but stopping as soon as the boss leaves the room. So for example, the boss comes in and he says, I want you to type a letter. Then okay, and then to be typing. And as soon as the boss leaves the room, then they'll be relaxing. And when the boss comes in again, I'm doing it, stalling. Children also, right? Children like that. When you ask them to tidy the room, they say, yeah, okay, I'm tidying the room, But as soon as you're away, they're doing the playing with the toys or whatever. And when you come in, then they say, I'm tidying. So the children also do this, stalling. So pretending to do the work, but stopping as soon as the boss is away. So that's avoiding action. So these are examples of the political tactics people use to avoid doing the task. Now this other category is avoiding blame. These are the techniques that people do to avoid being blamed. And I think this one probably is something that the first 3 anyway is where you all could practice. Now the first one is buffing. Is B-U-F-F-I-N-G, buffing. And buffing simply means protecting yourself using documentation. Protecting yourself using documentation. So if your boss asks you to do something, especially if it is controversial, make sure you get it in writing, at least in the form of an email or some minutes of the meeting to protect you. Because otherwise, if you're suddenly caught and people ask, who asked you to do this? And then you say your boss, and then your boss said, no, I didn't ask. If there's no black and white, so they must have some kind of documentation, either in the form of emails or letters or whatever. So that's buffing, protecting yourself. Now the next one is playing safe. And playing safe means taking on only projects with high chance of success. Taking on only the projects with high chance of success. So in other words, avoiding risky projects, thereby reducing the risk. Yeah. So in that legal firm that I worked in, the legal firm has got a lot of examples of all these. There was a lawyer who used this to great effect and became partner in a short period of time. This lawyer took on only the cases where there's high chances of winning. Either cases in court with high chances of winning or doing contracts where there's high chances or where the money is very substantial. Yeah? Because in a legal firm, your performance is based on your collection. So this lawyer, she took on only those big projects where she can bill and collect a lot of money for the firm, so she will get a good rating. And the files or the cases where it's difficult to collect money, she will pass to other lawyers. So this is plain simple. And the third one is justifying. Justifying meaning like, you are justifying, you're explaining, giving logical reasons for doing what you did. Giving logical reasons for doing what you did. And these three, I think, you should, in fact, we should all be doing them because it's good for our career. These two, I don't think so you should do. I don't think you should do. Scapegoating means blaming somebody else or something. Blaming somebody else or something. Common thing like, oh, I was late because traffic jam. I was late because my boss. Blaming somebody else or something else. Scapegoating. Scapegoating like making victim of an innocent party. Not good. And who's the most common scapegoat? Well, one of the common scapegoats are traffic and computer, right? Especially like in the 80s, late 80s, 90s, computer was always being blamed for everything. Computer problem, computer error. But actually, it's a human error inputting data into the computer. But they get blamed because why computer cannot answer back. Not good. But you find that other people do that. And lastly, misrepresenting. Misrepresenting is, like not telling the truth, almost like lying. Lying, misrepresenting. That's avoiding blame. And then now the last category is avoiding change. Avoiding change is, as it says, a person who does not want to adopt a new system, for example, they will either prevent it or do self-protection. So for example, like during the 80s again, when computers were newly introduced, there are a lot of people in organizations who try to prevent the company from going into computerization. This was during the late 80s. Of course, now computers are everywhere, but during the late 80s, they either tried to prevent the organization from adopting the computerized system, or if the organization still wants to go ahead with the computerization, they said, okay, the organization can go ahead, but leave me out of it, or leave my department out of it.
How will they do this?
They say we support computerization, but it's not for us. It's not for the HR department, or it's not for the accounts department and so on. Yeah?
But if they are not the manager.
Yeah, they will make a lot of noise. They will make a lot of noise and come up with all kinds of reasons why. Let me give you an example of impression management. It's basically image building. Image building. How do you manage your image? How people look at you? And these techniques, the impression management techniques, they are conformity, excuses, apologies, self-promotion, flattery, favors, and association. These are the techniques which people can use in order to promote their image, so that other people see them as superior, or more important than they actually are. First of all, conformity. Now, in organizations, unless you're right at the top, in organizations, usually you have to conform. You have to obey the rules. So for example, like in ADU, there's a dress code, so I conform to the dress code. In other places, I just wear jeans and t-shirt. But here I conform. This one, I would delete this. Excuses is not a good way to manage your image. I would delete this excuses. Okay? Now, apologize, yes. If you make mistakes, and everybody does, be quick to apologize. Because when you apologize, that matter resolved. If you don't apologize, don't admit your mistake, then there will be a problem. So apologize. Self-promotion, I don't quite like that, but people do that and they are effective. Self-promotion means they talk about their achievements. They won this award, this award, that award, and so on. Self-promotion. Sometimes it's necessary in some organizations to get ahead. You talk about your achievements so that the boss hears about it and then the boss gives you a quick promotion. Fortunately here we have a very good, in ADU, we've got a very good appraisal form. So this one doesn't really work in ADU, which is a good thing. And flattery is, praising, saying good things about the boss usually. Flattery, I would say, use it if you are sincere. If you really mean it, compliment your boss, why not? But don't say nice things in front of your boss, behind the boss you say different things, so that's not good. So, by all means give flattery if you honestly mean it. Favors. Do favors for your boss or your colleagues. You help your colleagues one day, next day, next year, whatever, your colleague will help you. Doing favors. And lastly, association. Association, there was one friend of mine who was a lawyer, and he likes to, they call it drop names. So he says, oh, my friend, this business tycoon, whatever, and my friend, this famous politician. So you will see like an association. So he associates himself with important people. So these are the techniques to improve your image. Another word for impression management. Okay, and that's it. And this slide you can delete.